Okay, so we have finally made it to the last two LEAP lessons for the year. So we're going to start with lesson 17 and then we will do lesson 18. And again, at any point in the actual lesson, if you need to stop the video to write some things down or you need to rewind it, then please do so, because I kind of go at a fast pace, especially when you're trying to keep up with writing. All right, so I'm looking at A. And it says here that Angela has a caterpillar and she wants to look at how it is growing. She draws a picture of her caterpillar each day. If she measures its length by the number of triangles, not including his head, how long is the caterpillar on day 1, 2, and day 3? Okay, and then B is going to tell you to organize your information in a table. What do the variables in your table represent? So if you look at day 1, and again, I'm not including the head, how many triangles would it take for day 1? Think about that. Okay, day 2, how many would it take? And then day 3, how many would it take? If you were thinking for A, day 1 is 1 triangle, day 2 would have taken 4, and day 3 would have taken 9. You would have been correct. Okay, so remember, we're not including the head here. So for B, it wants us to take this information and it wants us to organize it in a table, and we're going to use variables to represent our days and to represent our length, okay? So for B, here's our table, okay? Notice D is going to represent the day, day 1. What was the length of the caterpillar? 1 triangle. And you're copying this down. Day 2, what is the length of the triangle, or the caterpillar, excuse me, 4 triangles. Day 3, what is the length of the caterpillar? 9 triangles. Okay, so we use D and L to represent our variables, and we put it in a table. Now, you want to be looking at the relationship again between D and L. What's happening between D and L? What's happening between D and L? Okay, so take a minute to look at that, because when we target C, we're going to end up describing what we think is happening in words. Okay, I'm hoping that for C, where it says find a relationship between the length of the caterpillar and the day, how would you represent this in words? I'm hoping that you are noticing that the number of the day times itself is going to give you that length. Okay, so again, the number of the day times itself gives you the length of the caterpillar. That's what you should have noticed when you were looking at the relationship between D and L. And if I use that, describing it, your relationship using variables underneath C, that's exactly what it is. So this is me describing this rule in words. This is me describing this rule using variables. D times D equals L. And then I can finally apply my words and my rules to use this to predict the length of a caterpillar on day 5. If I apply that 5 times 5, I would have 25 small little triangles to represent my length. So again, if you have to pause to copy this or write this down, do so, because I'm going to move on. All right. If I look at D, D's going to say, again, did I use the same or did I use different variables? Remember, I represented D for the days, L for the length. So I did use different ones, okay? I used different ones to represent the different values. E says, why do you think your equation or function rule represents the relationship? Again, it applied to all of the problems. So for D and E, again, was that repeat? Different because they represent different values. And then, why did I know it worked? Well, I tested it, okay? I tested it for day 1, for day 2, and for day 3. And that rule of D times D equals W is going to work. Or, excuse me, not W. D times D equals L, excuse me, is going to work. So, it applied. Now, this question, while you're copying this down, is not a part of this lesson, but what would happen if I changed, how would my rule change if I did go back and add the head? So think about my original rule being my original rule being this here, D times D equals L. What would happen though if I did want to include my head as my full length? Anybody have an idea of how this original one would change if I wanted to include the head? If you were thinking D times D plus 1 equals L, you would have been correct. Okay, and that almost kind of goes back to our string lesson that we did not too long ago, where I had to go back and include that original string. This is me going back and including that one triangle representing my head. So that would be a way that it could change. Okay, all right, moving on. And again, if you need to pause and stop, you can. We are moving on to lesson 18. This is the last and final week lesson for the year. And this one here, we've got good old